Thank you.
Hey, buddy. Free. Hi, buddy.
He'd always been a really healthy child. He met all his milestones. He met all his developmental milestones early even. He was healthy, he was happy, he was smiling all the time, dancing, playing.
We took him in for his immunizations, and within a week he developed a croup. And they gave him a steroid called prednisone, and normally it wears off, but with Joey it just didn't. Stayed in the system for a long time, for about a week. Within a couple months it began deteriorating rather quickly.
By 3, he had lost all his words, wasn't smiling hardly anymore, he wasn't wanting to play, didn't want to interact with people, wasn't responding to his name. And that's when I kept taking him to the pediatrician saying there's something wrong, and they just kept telling me, no, just wait, he's just a late talker. But deep down in my heart, I knew that something was changing. He just wasn't the same little boy.
Happy Easter, I love you.
And so we actually went to the children's hospital, and he started interacting with Joey, and at the end of it I said, well, what's going to happen? And he turned around and said, well, he's classically autistic. And we just kind of looked at each other and said, what does that mean? And he said, well, I gave you a book, and you should find a support group. There's no cure. You know, I mean, this is, you're just going to have to love him and deal with this. And we drove the 5 hours back after that appointment just in shock. And we came back and told our primary care physician, and he said, oh yeah, I've been suspecting that for years. And so that was the main frustration, is we had to go from blindly trusting in doctors in the medical profession, which is what we had done our whole lives, to become experts on every single aspect of it, because no two groups were working together in treating our son.
The doctor said there's no cure and there's no hope. When I talk about it to people, I feel like it's kind of compared to like a death of your child, because you have this child that's just so beautiful and alive, and then your child goes away and he's trapped in this body.
He was just kind of not there anymore. You know, he was just sitting there staring at things and not moving.
And he can't get out of it. He can't give emotions. He can't tell you what's going on. He can't tell you what he needs anymore.
We did something to him that took away what he was. And that's what really got us through, was the fact that we knew that no matter what, you know, that doctor told us, or a primary care physician or anybody else, there was a way. People had to be out there getting their kids better, recovering their children. And if other people were doing it, then we could do it too.
When we first saw Joey at his initial assessment, he interacted with his world almost exclusively in a sensory way. So we used his interest, which was sensory. We did a lot on the swing, we did a lot of jumping, crawling through tunnels, we played chase and pretend dinosaurs and monster games, things like that, to give his body the sensory input it needed. We also used a tactile articulation approach called prompt, in which we actually touched his mouth to help cue him for certain sound productions. He got to his second, third year. We were doing table tasks. We were working on grammar, things like plural S's, possessive S's. He was really able to attend after we got his sensory system and his whole emotional system more regulated.
Come on.
Joey, want to pull out your candles? Go get it.
Had to be something environmental or otherwise that triggered that within Joey, that caused that. And if that was the case, there was a way to fix it. So on the heels of us going down there and meeting with Thoughtful House, with Dr. Jepson, he was already off dairy for a while. We got him off gluten as soon as he came back. You know, because of the diet and because of these vitamins, he was starting to get better. His words were becoming clearer. That fog was gone. We'd had blood tests done in Texas, and we started looking at the metals that were in his body, and toxic levels of lead and arsenic and mercury. So we used a chelation agent under the supervision of our doctor, monitoring everything. Everything helped a little bit. Some a lot more than others, but everything helped a little bit. And through that, all of his levels came down, and everything was flushed out of his body, and he started to get better and better.
Okay, you hit the dog.
Kids that have a lot of yeast are usually very stimmy. And when I say stimmy, they're sensitive to light, to sounds. They flap their hands a lot. Joey, at one point, was always walking on his tiptoes all the time, and he didn't like to be touched. But through the therapies we had done so far, that had kind of subsided. So we came upon the idea, and my wife had done some research on it, of hyperbaric oxygen therapy. And it turns out there's a chamber here in Spokane, which was state-of-the-art. It looks like a giant submarine. And we had called our doctor, Dr. Jepson, down at Thoughtful House, and asked him, and he couldn't guarantee how much better he would do, but he said he will get better. Something's going to happen. I remember they had porthole windows everywhere, and they had flat screens taped to it, and they played movies for the children, and then there were speakers inside. I've been watching Joey for over a year now, just sit there and stare at the TV, not interact with it at all, and then just go back to holding a large object or just moving around or making weird noises. I hadn't seen him really connect with anything. The second week, Joey all of a sudden looked up and he grabbed my arm and said, "Daddy, look." And I just sat there staring at him because he hadn't done that since he was probably a year and a half, 14 months old. Hadn't ever shared that kind of moment with me. I hadn't seen that. And it'd been, we're going on 2.5 years of not having any kind of interaction with Joey whatsoever. And to have him grab my arm and look at that, and then pretty soon he's out there and he's dancing, he's looking at the music again. He's watching these cartoons, he's excited about it, and he's talking about the separate things. That was the biggest jump that we ever saw. And then from that point, we started looking at different things that we could do. We started looking into brain mapping. We started looking into the different levels of therapy that we could take him to, and he just kept getting better and better and better. And between that and what the doctors were telling us, we'd get together, we'd pray about it, we'd make the best decision possible on what we would do next.
Daddy, help!
I guess I would encourage parents really to pursue all their assessments and really follow their heart. Whitney and Josh really felt like there probably was a hearing loss associated, and the professionals just kept telling them that it was autism and that he wasn't responding. But I think if he would have had hearing aids at the age of 2 and not the age of 5, he could have, acquired language at a much faster rate in those early years. And I think he had that additional playing catch up because his brain wasn't used to processing auditory information.
He needed hearing aids. His hearing aid was pretty bad in his left ear more than his right. And we got an ABR, auditory brain response test done. They had to sedate him to do it, and they had hearing aids on him within a week. And his progress from then has just been phenomenal with his vocabulary. And so between all the therapies that we have done and waking him up and bringing him out of that shell, opening that window wider and wider for him, to the auditory therapy that he has now through the Central Valley school system, through their kindergarten, he's had that throughout this entire year. He's made leaps and bounds to the point where he now gets to go into a mainstream kindergarten with completely normal children. Joey had the normal routine scheduled, full vaccinations, over 30, and that chunk that they gave him at a year and a half was quite an overwhelming dose. And I remember he did not do well after that. He got very sick, he got high fever. We've come to the conclusion that we won't ever give it to our child in one burst. One vaccine at a time, spaced out every 6 months, safe schedules, never any kind of combination, never doing cold and flu season. And then keeping your child inside for 7 to 10 days after the vaccine, because they could be exposed to something outside which could hurt them. But if you're more cautious with the way that you vaccinate and putting them on a safe schedule, there's no harm in vaccinating when a child has a fully developed immune system and they're doing a lot better, rather than when they're just an infant or when they're 2 or 3 days old.
Being a good advocate for your child, what works the best through the school district and with certain therapists. If you get that, inspiration of, this is what my child needs, then you fight for it until you get it. And I think the school district knows that you're going to work with them and you don't want them just to do all the work themselves. They want to work with you. If they see that you're excited and motivated with your child, they are excited and motivated for your child as well. So, and listen to that mommy intuition. That's the big thing.
The Isaac Foundation provides grants for all the same therapies that my son has had. Okay, they give those grants out to children that need this. And so the money that Lintron and Isaac Foundation have raised together is huge because it all goes back to the children. And if my numbers are right, it's over 97% that goes back into the children.
I know a lot of people that have used the Isaac Foundation and just what it's meant to them. It's an answer to their prayers. It's an answer to what they're looking for. It helps their children so much. And I just can't imagine what a lot of these families would do without it. So we just really love what they stand for and what they do for these children.
Oh, look at that chocolate dripping
There's
down.
a place I long to be, where the air is wild and free. It's a little haven just for me.
Oh, look at
I
that
can let my head
face.
down and be me. Just a smile for a start, and it only takes a spark to begin the fire in your heart. Wouldn't you agree? I believe that I can be only the best in whatever I do. Guaranteed to take the lead. Only the best in whatever I do. Guaranteed, yes indeed, to be the best in whatever I do.
Put those on top.
You only need one button. Do you want to do one button?
There's a place not far away where the sky is never gray, orange as the evening setting sun. A place that has a friend for everyone, where the smile will warm your heart, and the people think about everything to make your dream come true. Everything is you. I believe that I can be only the best in whatever I do. Guaranteed to take the lead. Only the best in whatever I do. Guaranteed, yes indeed. Only the best in whatever I do. Won't you take my hand and let me lead? Would you rather trust me?
And his ability to go into a mainstream first grade, to be able to have friends and be invited to birthday parties, to be able to associate with him, to go out on his scooter or his bike and ride up and down the road, you know, whereas before we couldn't get him out of his room.
1, 2. That's right. What's this?
Just remember to tell the camera how gorgeous and amazing your wife is. You could never have done it without her.
There's a
Okay,
place
sorry.
I long to be, where the air is wild and free. I can let my hair down and be me. Wouldn't you agree?
Bye-bye.
The prevalence of autism today, it's something that everybody should be concerned with, because it's just growing and growing in numbers and incidence.
Because the Isaac Foundation relies completely on private donations from individuals to companies and businesses, there is no gesture that is too small. There is not a service that we wouldn't appreciate. And there are always children that need help, and we don't want to have to turn them away. So check out our website at theisaacfoundation.org. See what we're about, see what we do throughout the year. We have lots of different opportunities.
All of the money that we raise goes to children.
Number one doctor for autism research to tell us that there was no hope. Therapies the Isaac Foundation has provided, and these same therapies is what's brought our son back. And that's why we believe in it so strongly. It's been a great relationship with the Isaac Foundation. The main advocate for your child is you. You're the one who's going to get that child back to where he or she was. And I believe in backing people that do things.